Welcome to this recording about progressive muscle relaxation. In this exercise, I'll guide you through various sets of muscles in your body. For each set of muscles, I'll ask you to tense that set. Hold that tension for roughly 5 seconds, and then relax for about 10 seconds. As you're doing this, just let yourself notice the feeling of the tension in that muscle group and the feeling of it being relaxed. So, as we get started, I'll ask that you find the most comfortable place for you to sit or even lie down. If you're sitting, you should have your feet on the floor. And let's just take a few deep breaths. Now, starting with your right hand and forearm, make a tight fist with your right hand and hold that tension. You can let that go and let yourself relax for about 10 seconds. Now bring your right forearm up to your right shoulder and make a muscle and hold that tension for about 5 seconds. And let that go. Now let's make a fist with your left hand and hold that tension. And you can let that go. Bringing your left hand and left forearm up to your shoulder to make a muscle with your left hand. And hold that tension. And let that go and relax for about 10 seconds. Now raise your eyebrows as high as they will go to tense your forehead. About 5 seconds. And you can let that go. Now tense your eyes and cheeks by squeezing your eyes very tight. And hold that for about 5 seconds. And you can let that go and relax for about 10 seconds. Now tense your mouth and jaw by opening your mouth as wide as you can, as you might when you're yawning. And hold that for about 5 seconds. And you can let that go. Now tense the muscles in your neck by pushing your face forward just a bit and pulling your head back slowly, leaning your head up to look at the ceiling. Hold that tension. And you can let that go. Now tense the muscles in your shoulders, bringing your shoulders up toward your ears. and let that go. Now push your shoulder blades back, almost as if you're trying to touch them together, and hold that tension. Let that go. Now let's tense your chest and stomach by breathing in deeply, filling your lungs and chest with air, and hold that for about 5 seconds. And let that go. Now moving down to your hip and butt, squeezing your butt muscles as tightly as you can, and hold for about 5 seconds. And let that go. We're going to move down your legs, and starting with your right upper leg, tighten your right thigh muscle and hold that tension for about 5 seconds. And let that go. And moving down to your right calf, slowly tighten your calf muscle. You can pull your toes toward you to stretch that calf muscle and hold that tension for about 5 seconds. And let that go. Now you can stretch the muscles in your right foot by curling your toes downward and holding that tension for about 5 seconds. And let that go. We're going to move to the left side and tense the muscles in your left thigh and hold that tension for about 5 seconds. And release that tension and just let it go for about 10 seconds. Now let's tense the lower left leg by tensing the muscles in your calf. And you can do this by pulling your toes up toward you to stretch your calf. And hold that for about 5 seconds. And let that tension go. Now let's stretch the muscles in your left foot by curling your toes downward and hold the tension in your foot for about 5 seconds. And you can just let that go. As we move toward wrapping up, let's try one more thing. Let's try to tense all of the muscles that we worked on today, all together, from your head all the way down to your toes. And let's hold that tension for about 5 seconds. and let that go. Now take just a few deep breaths. If your eyes have been closed, you can slowly open them whenever you feel ready. And you can always go back to the beginning of this recording and practice this again.